Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode, of course, to the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and I am here with a cast of characters that are going to dazzle and delight you today. Folks, look, what could we say? You see what's on your screen. It's the talk of the town. It has done things for Xbox that has not been done in years. Let's get our introductions in. Dave, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back, bro.
I'm feeling great, man. I'm so glad to be here, and we got some great topics, and you have got some salt on the sandwiches today.
Yeah, I'm a sodium-free kind of a guy, but today, folks, put a 1 in the chat if you want to hear a real nasty, salty boom today, because, man, gaming journalism once again has let me down. The stupidity continues, thanks to Tim Dog and a tweet that he put out there. Listen, folks, you see the headline of the show. What does Tango Gameworks Hi-Fi Rush do for Xbox in Japan? Well, we have that answer, folks, because of all places, IGN Japan has given Tango Gameworks' new IP a 10 out of 10 as of 6 minutes ago. That has been reported by several gaming insiders as well as community members. A 10 out of 10, folks. They're calling it a modern-day masterpiece, and they are right in to say so. And again, I know IGN United States is, well, I don't put them high on the list on who I can trust, but I have seen some good things from Japan. They run differently, and obviously, well, they gave this game a 10 out of 10, which is what Double Barrel Gaming has given it. But let's continue. Crazy Lui Gaming, you landed back. You're safe. You are slightly behind a bit, but we are here. You are here, and we're going to open up, folks, with a really fun topic. What is on Phil Spencer's shelf? Because the keen-eyed Crazy Lui Gaming has seen something. Now, we're going to get to you in a second, Crazy Lui, but welcome back, brother. How you feeling? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, man, I'm pretty good, man. Happy to be back. Happy to be sitting here back with you guys, chilling. Even though I was sitting with you guys over in Aruba, it's different because, the microphone sounded not as great. But I'm actually happy to be here chilling out with you guys. And, man, we got lots to talk about that show, man.
Yeah, we do. And again, once again, I paid no mind to it. I'm going to be honest with you because I was busy paying my minds to our Hi-Fi Rush. I was playing some Dead Space. Dead Space is so good. Oh my god, what justice they did to that title. And GoldenEye is it's the N64 GoldenEye, but there are a lot of people in their nostalgic feelings over that game. I have it downloaded. I have yet to play it because it's only so much time in the day and I only have 2 hands. So we will get to that as well. But Fuzzy Belvedere, brother, good morning or good afternoon. How you feeling, bro? Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here, man. Just enjoying gaming right now and seeing how even some review sites still want to play console war with the reviews. But man, we got some fun topics today, and can't wait to get into them. But
yeah, I think everyone is gonna be a little salty and have every right to be because, folks, look, here's the thing. You follow me specifically because I give it to you straight, right? Like I don't pander for PlayStation. I don't overly attack PlayStation. I give them the smoke when it's necessary. That goes the same thing for Nintendo, which I don't really talk much about, but when they deserve it, they get it. And specifically, you've heard me in the last couple of weeks give Microsoft the business because they just, they didn't deliver on some things. Some things may get delayed. Obviously, I have a real issue with the, this is what we're doing for 12 months. And, oh, by the way, it's not coming to, the other, we add another 6 months to the conversation. I got a problem with that. So I give everyone the righteous smoke when it's deserved. And I also give the accolades and flowers where they're earned, right? But that's not everyone. And we're going to get to a story that for the second topic of the show, which is, of course, we're going to be talking about Tango Gameworks and what this game, what right in front of you, is going to do for Microsoft in Japan. And it's going to do a lot. And obviously, it getting a 10 out of 10 is going to get significant traction. I'm looking for, as much as I like the IGN 10 out of 10, folks, who I'm waiting for, and I have not seen as of yet, is Famitsu Wave. That is who I want to see review this game. Only because, well, Famitsu Wave, if you don't know who they are, they're the cream of the top when it comes to reviews in that region of the world. I cannot wait to see, because they don't give tens like it's going out of style. I think in the history of, and they've been here since the 80s, folks, I think they have given 23 tens in all of the thousands and thousands of reviews that they have done. But I want to go and hand the show over to another host of his own show, known as the Xbox International Podcast, Crazy Lui Gaming. You put something in the DM which I thought was fantabulous, and it talks about what is on Phil Spencer's shelf. What did you see that people should be talking about?
I was looking because Mr. Dave here told me something that Alan Wake thing was on the shelf before. I was like, let me look back. Remember when they showed the little streaming device that what's it called? The little streaming device thing that it was on Phil's shelf. They had Alan Wake on there, but everybody focused on that streaming device. So what I did is today, I finally sat down and I watched the interview because I've been just super busy all week in Aruba doing a bunch of stuff. I was like, let me look at the shelf. And I literally sat there for like 10 minutes looking at the shelf, like, hey, I see Alan Wake there. So I was like, let me start playing Connect the Dots. A couple of weeks ago, we see Sean Ashmore, right? Go on Twitter, say, hey, Xbox, I'm in for, what's it called? Oh, Quantum Break 2.
Yes.
I'm in for Quantum Break 2. And then all of a sudden we see this interview, we see this, Alan Wake behind him, Phil Spencer shelf. Like, could this mean, or is it we're gonna get the Alan Wake remaster, Alan Wake 2 on Game Pass, or could this mean that they're actually eyeing for Remedy? Could it be that though?
I'll say this to your question. Nothing would surprise me most. Now, look, infamously, there has been some talk over years that Remedy had a bit of distaste for Xbox. Like we've heard this, folks. Like we've heard the commentary, we've seen some things, but that was certainly during a time where Microsoft was under different management, right? That same management, every piece of that management no longer exists here in 2023. It is a Phil Spencer run organization. Obviously, he is the head of Microsoft Gaming. And, Phil is known as the industry nice guy, right? Now, again, don't take niceness for weakness. The guy is a shark. He just, eats behind the scenes. Like, he's probably a very, very stout businessman, when it comes to these things. So to your question, is there something here on that may at some point make its head visible? Well, I would say yes, and I'm going to tell you why. As we have seen numerous times before, things on Phil Spencer's shelf have been significant. And in big ways. Now, your question is this meaning that Alan Wake 2 is going to show up in Game Pass? Well, that's a possibility. But I like the second half of your question. Is Remedy potentially bound for Xbox Game Studios as first party? I've been saying for years, and I'm not a Remedy apologist, but I'm a Remedy fan. And I think that, yes, they do take time to make their games. As a matter of fact, anyone that's a fan of Remedy, I think you will, if you have one complaint, about the studio is that they take some time to put out their games. Sometimes their games are in development 4 years, 5 years, and in some cases 6 years. But I say this, Microsoft and specifically Remedy don't have to so much worry about timelines anymore. Why? Why is that? Because Microsoft currently has 23 studios. And and I say when, the ABK deal is done, they will move into the realm of 32 to 33. Now, obviously, we know that they're not done, right? We have it on complete confirmation that once this deal is done, game studios like Asobo and Avalanche and IO Interactive, they could be coming into the mix as well, simply because Microsoft needs games for their game service in Xbox Game Pass. And if Remedy were to become first party, well, they would be able to sit back and make a game and take as long as they need to make the game, because Microsoft will be sitting on potentially 35, 36, maybe even 40 studios. So at that point, is it an issue to have to wait for a Remedy game for 5 years? The answer is no. The answer is no. It absolutely doesn't have. It will be not. We will not have to worry about it at all, because they will be able to take their time. So I think that there is some significance here. Now, we won't know. The funny thing about the what's on Phil Spencer's shelf conversation is normally what is on his shelf that is discovered doesn't come into fruition till months later. So maybe, folks, and again, this is a hypothetical from BoomStick here. Maybe in June we see Alan Wake on the Xbox, Alan Wake 2 on the Xbox stage. I don't know if Sony has the marketing for that. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But what if at that show the ABK deal is done and they announce Remedy as becoming first party like they did back in 2018? I'm just saying there's a lot of things here to be questioned. I think that is a possibility. I love this topic that was brought up by Lou. I'll hand it over to Dave. Let's get your opinion on this, brother.
Well, to your point, Kojima's logo statue. I can't think of the name of his character is on that, but it's been there for a long time before he was officially announced.
That is correct.
Came out and said we'll be making a game with him. So there is definitely credence to things are possible. Let's hope it works out that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, Alan Wake 2 in Game Pass would be great. I'm sure that Alan Wake is it was a Microsoft exclusive. The Xbox Arcade one was and still is an Xbox exclusive. That's where the game was born. I'd love to see it come home. Now, obviously, Alan Wake 2 has been announced for multiple consoles. So even if Microsoft did acquire, like they did with Bethesda, some games would just go to where they were promised, where contracts were signed. So that's what would happen. But maybe the Alan Wake franchise moving forward would be exclusive. I don't know. But Fuzzy Belvedere, is there something to be looked upon on what's on Phil Spencer's shelf, specifically with Remedy?
I think there is. I mean, for the most part, especially considering what Louis was bringing up as far as Ashmore saying he would be, all for like another Quantum Break or something to those or to that effect. But I know they've had some bad blood in the past. But I wouldn't mind seeing like an Alan Wake 2 in either Game Pass, or them actually go out there and make a true Quantum Break 2, or make something that's a blend between Quantum Break and Control. I know they're working on like a Control 2 right now, if I'm not mistaken. But everything on Phil's shelf has always led to something, whether it's something in Game Pass or something that's like a marketing deal or something to that effect, or maybe it's something that was in the works and then kind of got pushed back because of something else coming up. But I definitely think Louis on to something as far as with us seeing something from Remedy, or that they could be on that targeting block, because they have had some financial issues. They've had to go through a couple of different publishers because of that. And, Microsoft is writing checks. So pretty sure they wouldn't, well, with the exception of the one developer that keeps on calling the Series S a potato or whatever that was over there, I'm pretty sure a lot of people over at Remedy wouldn't mind having the job security that they would have possibly as an Xbox studio, with it being something where a game that takes a little bit longer to produce goes into Game Pass. It's not as hard pressed when it comes to getting it to ship by a certain date and make a certain amount of sales upon that. But yeah, it would be kind of cool. I have my doubts just because of the bad blood, and there's a lot of people that have changed positions and things like that since then, but it still would be pretty cool because I really want a Quantum Break 2 or a Quantum Break Control out or crossover kind of thing, or just Alan Wake 2, have it in Game Pass day and date, and that would be awesome as well.
Yeah, I agree. I again, the people that made the quote unquote bad blood are no longer there. I don't know if that is something that could be quote unquote remedied, pun intended. I hope maybe. I like Remedy. I've been a fan of their work. They are great storytellers. I love all their games. And I know a lot of people like on the fence about Control. I loved Control. I thought Control was phenomenal. I loved the DLC, the Alan Wake DLC specifically. I mean, the Alan Wake's a part of the universe, so that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Look, at the end of the day, we have no idea what the significance of it being on Phil Spencer's shelf, is. I'm assuming at some point it is going to come to fruition. Hopefully, that is in the form of an acquisition. I think Remedy is a great studio. They are exactly, at least in my opinion, folks, what Microsoft needs for that third person story driven type of experience that a lot of people, including myself and like Cognito, have been asking for. Where the hashtag just one, they can deliver that. And if they had a budget where they weren't worried about keeping the lights on like they currently are right now. I mean, we know that they've had some money issues. Obviously, they're a small self-funded studio. They could potentially, bring in something. I mean, look what they did with Quantum Break. Now, I know that there's going to be some people in this chat right now. We have over 300 people here. Like, yeah, you know what? I couldn't get into Alan Wake because of the, the video that I had to watch or whatever. And that's fine. And I challenged people a couple of weeks ago, and I've been getting DMs and messages on Xbox Live. Oh my God, Boom, I can't believe I never played this game. If you have never played Quantum Break, and you want a Sony-esque, story-driven, over-the-shoulder, incredibly graphically polished game, go play it on the Series X right now. It's in Xbox Game Pass. I am telling you, you will walk away incredibly impressed. Now, that game had Microsoft funding, and it shows. And obviously, if you look at it compared, like Control was a good-looking game, but Control did not have the same graphical prowess as you found in Quantum Break. And there's a reason for it. From what we understand, they self-funded Control, and there were limitations. Now, just imagine if they had Microsoft money backing them, they could really bring in talent. They could really spend the correct time and deliver a really good, potentially new IP or a sequel in the form of Quantum Break 2. But look, we got to get into the big topic of the show, folks. And we are talking about what you see on your screen right here. There's a lot to get into, and this is where Mr. BoomStick gets a bit salty. I sent this into the DM, and I got it once again. I got to shout out Tim Dog. I mean, everyone knows who Tim Dog is. He's Mr. Xbox. I've met him in person multiple times. I can't wait to see him again at E3 2023. He posted something on his official Twitter account, and he simply wrote this, folks. So because of other developers and XGS, you dock Tango. Good job, LOL. Snip via Joe Cool. Now, just for context, I'm going to read you the review from Metro, which gave it an 80, which is a great score, right? But this is what they had to say, and this is where the salt comes from, because what has happened is Xbox has been bad for many years, and they have basically somewhat do their own shortcomings, had the industry paint them into a corner. So even when they do great, and Hi-Fi Rush is better than great. If you have a better word than great, put it into the chat. I'll read it live on the air. This game is polished. The voice acting is second to none. Every character that you meet is likable. I would even dare say lovable. This is a $30 game that is doing things against other $70 games, and it's eating their effing lunch. But let me read you the review. Now, I'm going to read most of the review, and it's pretty positive, but I gotta read you at the end for context the stab in the rib. This is what Metro.co.uk had to say. They published this on January 29th. They say this, folks: a very welcome surprise. That is one of the most enjoyable, unique games on Xbox, and one of the best rhythm action games in a very long time. That's glowing, right? Glowing review. As well as having arguably the best cel-shaded graphics ever. So you're like, wow, that's pretty cool, right? Well, they go on to say this, and this is where I have to get salty. Admittedly, that's not saying much, given it's also the first Xbox Series X exclusive to be published by Microsoft themselves. The wasteland that has been the Xbox release schedules for the last few years, listen to this, folks, limits the accolades that we can give the game, but it's a breath of fresh air for Xbox gamers, developer Tango Gameworks, and the rhythm action genre as a whole. Now, this went from a 10 out of 10 review to having to throw a dig in the ribs, a shot in the ribs, whether you stab somebody or you poke them or you punch them, that I've ever seen. Like, is that not reckless journalism at its finest? So let me get this straight. So we have a complete understanding here with the over 300 people we have. So maybe we can get you involved in the conversation. The game went from it's a very welcome surprise and one of the most unique and enjoyable games on Xbox, one of the best rhythm games, action games in a very long time, as well as having arguably the best cel-shaded graphics ever. We went from that to we can't give it the proper accolades because of the wasteland that has been Xbox Game Studio release schedule the last couple of years. How does one paragraph correlate with the other? So what we're ultimately saying here is the game is a 10, but because XGS has shit the bed, and they have over the last couple of years when it comes to releasing games on time, that's Microsoft's big problem right now. And I'm not going to get into it, because I'm just saying it for context. We're going to pull points away from a game that went from a 10 to an 8 because of someone else's fault. So we went from reviewing the game to reviewing XGS. I'm confused. And I'm going to go first to Fuzzy here. Fuzzy, you're one of the saltiest ones here, and you're a very reserved salt master. You keep it in, and then you explode on the scene, and then we got salt in our eyes, and we're all blinded. Is this not ridiculous?
It's beyond ridiculous, because if the whole purpose of reviewing the game or reviewing a game is to basically focus on that particular title, what the company that produces it does outside of that, I mean, I could see some people, wondering what that company may do behind the scenes, but that's not what the review is about. The review is about the actual title or the piece of art that they made, and review that. So the history or the company behind it, they tripped and fell over their own 2 feet last year because of a low release schedule. That has nothing to do with this particular game at this instance when you're reviewing it. I can understand you having that in the back of your mind, but why would you even bother holding that as, well, we're going to dock a few points because of that? It, like, I don't know. Does the person that reviews cars, hold a few points back on like a new Cadillac because, well, in the '80s the American auto industry tanked or whatever? No, it's ridiculous in the sense. It's like, oh well, I'm not going to score this Sony TV that great because they're not like the Zenith TVs of the past, or it's like nonsense. It's I don't know. I think this is a byproduct of the game doing the shadow drop. Like, this is the type of either media bias or the personal feelings that they pretty much have to inject into their review, where instead of worrying about the game itself, I don't like Xbox and the fact that they didn't deliver games last year, so I'm going to dock points on it, as opposed to, I played this game, I enjoyed it. Like all the things that they said as far as, oh, the tremendous cell shading, blah blah blah. That should be where your review kind of stops, not what Xbox did or what Tango Gameworks did before or any of that. Like, the only time a previous history of a game should even be somehow wrapped up in a review is if it's a series like Mass Effect or Tomb Raider or something. Like, I love this game based on it like as an individual title, but when you compare it to the previous Tomb Raider, but that still shouldn't affect the score overall. Like, you can have your personal feelings that you enjoyed the previous versions before, but this one just in it itself has this score. So it bothers me. I don't understand why, people that, I guess they're feeling salty because they didn't get to review bomb this to some extent, or get to put out a narrative like, well, another cartoony game, and who would buy this? Oh, this is more of like, Game Pass fodder. Instead of just reviewing the game, playing the game, reviewing it, giving a score based on the game, and that's it. But I've rambled enough. I want to hear what Dave and Louie have to say.
No, I mean, it's look, folks. I'm sorry to say, and I don't mean to continue to beat this narrative or to beat this drum. There is an inherent gaming journalism hatred for Xbox, and at some point, like I have said, you guys and gals have heard me say this numerous times. Oh, just wait until Xbox gets their locomotion going, right? And they have a cadence of, every 3 months, boom, 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 just like the beats in this game. They're dropping a AAA first party game every 3 months. Wait until that happens. The gaming media is going to turn around. And you know what? I've come to realize, folks, that is never going to effing happen. And I'm going to tell you why. What's on your screen is why. This is what is considered a gaming masterclass release. It was shadow dropped during one of Microsoft's best produced shows ever. And on top of that, it's not even a full priced game. It's $30. And of course, you can download it on Xbox Game Pass. And what another cool feature that maybe a lot of people don't know, there is a deluxe edition or version of this game for $40. And if you go to that deluxe edition on your Xbox and you scroll down, you can buy for $8.99, because it's 10% off in Game Pass, the added deluxe edition, and all you have to spend is $8.99, and it gives you 20,000 credits and a bunch of outfits that you can change, because your character is customizable, where you can change the color of his clothes, his scarf, his guitar. Like, if you see the guitar I have, it's the cat, not the regular guitar. So it's all these cool additives that you can get for $8.99, right? You don't have to buy the game. But you can buy the deluxe edition, content for $9. And listen, it is getting good reviews. It's sitting on Open Critic right now as a 91. It is doing good things. But I gotta say this, folks. that I honestly believe begrudgingly that there are a lot of reviewers that are literally biting their tongues while they're writing this review, because at some point, just to show face, just to be a part of the conversation, they're going to have to eventually give games that are due good reviews. But a perfect example of these so-called good reviews is from Metro. They give it an 8 out of 10. That's a great review. And if what you read is what the reviewer is trying to say, it's a 10. But when you see the words, oh, we have to give it this score because of this, it doesn't make sense. I think it is reckless journalism, and I think that inherently Xbox is going to be behind the 8 ball even when they get it right. Dave, talk about it, brother. Am I onto something here? Is Fuzzy onto something here?
Definitely. Fuzzy was all over it, on it, stick the landing there, Fuzz. I love it. It, dude, it is. I mean, it's they wear their bias on their sleeve. I mean, it's obvious that they they probably was hated doing the best they could, and then they're like, but we can say, oh well, this is just the beginning, and they've still got a lot to prove. Blah blah blah, bullshit. I'm sorry I cussed, but that's BS.
That's fine. We're adults here.
It's total BS, man. It's and it's blatantly obvious. Everybody sees it. It should have been a lot higher score from them than that, but that's okay. IGN Japan gets it, and maybe it's because it's a Japanese developer who, by the way, when Phil was talking about this the other day in his interview, Tango Gameworks, they came to them and said, hey, we want to shadow drop this. We feel that confident in this game that we want to do that. And Phil's like, if you feel like you want to do it, we'll do it. And they did it. And look what happened. Boom. And the sales on Steam, even if it's in Game Pass, if you have a Game Pass subscription, are through the roof. And I believe from what's been reported, I'll have to look at my numbers, so don't hold me to this, but that it's actually made more revenue.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Talk about that for a hot second, folks. Let's talk about this, okay? Dave brings up a great point, and I want him to continue this point. Look, Forspoken is a mess, right? It's one of and this is now back-to-back PlayStation exclusives that have been complete garbage, right? They have made a deal with Platinum Games on Babylon's Fall, which is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and after a month, the service was shut down because it's a piece of garbage, right? Now this game comes out, and it had a lot of buzz, it had a lot of marketing, and what did Square do? Square does what Square does, and they forget that the Xbox community exists, and they don't care. And they released this game that is written abysmally at best. That's the nicest thing I could possibly say about it, especially on some of the things that I've read from people in the community that are just disgusted with the way that the character was treated and the stereotypical way it was written. Look, it's a hunk of junk, right? The game is $70, which is, of course, what Sony has. They made the $70 game popular. Everyone jumped on ship, and now $70 is a thing, right? $70 game inherently, just on the fact that it's double the amount of what you see in front of your screen, just on mathematical principles, should make more money. The truth of the matter is that's not, in fact, the case. As a matter of fact, last week on Steam for purchases, Forspoken was 31st, and this game that just released on Wednesday, Shadow Dropped, was number 5. Okay? So, by all means, please continue, Dave.
Oh, it's I mean, that's basically it, man. It just shows that the game, it's quality gaming, and and it's a lot of, be honest, butthurt. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are like us that play on all consoles or play on a lot of consoles. Just not necessarily just the Xbox. Yeah, I have a PlayStation, I have a Switch, I have PC, I have a Steam Deck. So I play different places, and being able to have a good variety of games on all platforms is great, and I love it. But just because, and listening to some of the hardcore haters of Xbox, that's basically all you can call them. They're not necessarily fanboys; they're haters
Right.
of Xbox for whatever reason. They feel like they owe Sony so much.
Yep.
And like I said, Sony is a great company. They have made some great games, but they don't always do great things for the consumers. And this, recently is proving it. With Jim flying all over the place, but
Yeah, we're gonna get into crying Ryan momentarily because
I'm
that
jumping subjects. I'm
is
sorry.
ridiculous. No, by all means, we're here to talk about it, brother.
But it's sad. It's sad that it's come to that, and they just can't stand that there's something good, and they're going to try and belittle it or keep it down as best they can because it doesn't fit their narrative. And that's it. That's basically it.
Yeah. No, I agree. iMill in the chat, a good friend of the show, is always here in the chat. So thank you so much for that, and of course, thank you for the compliment or the comment, I should say. He says, "I don't understand why Xbox fans still rely on Metacritic when most of the gaming media on that site is PlayStation centric. Whatever happened to you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me." And you know what? I want to respond to that. I don't think it's that we as a community depend on a review from Metacritic or what they actually have to say is important. But you see, the issue at hand isn't Metacritic as a whole. It is that the gaming media has put this stigma onto Xbox as Xbox bad, anything PlayStation good. Right, like I know I'm not the only one that sees this. I mean, again, I don't like taking the shows that we do because I work real hard on these shows and I try to be guy positive number one. But every now and again, something goes across the desk or a situation is in the the gaming media or in the gaming community that I have to begrudgingly sometimes discuss. And it is like I said, not every website is doing the rib jabs. We've seen 10 out of 10s. We've seen 9 out of 10s. It's like I said, open critic. It's sitting at a 91 right now, and it deserves that. But it's still a conversation that we have to have because no matter what Xbox does, like Starfield could legitimately come out. And again, we don't know. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. There's some insider that got a lot of things right, especially of things in the past that is suggesting that Starfield isn't in great shape. Tomorrow, Skullsy TV once again will be reprising his role as a panel member. He has some information and some opinions on what is being said, specifically about the leaked 3/31, the 3/23/23 date that Jez Corden says, it's just a placeholder. So we're going to get Skullsy on tomorrow on the Xbox Factor podcast. That's tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we have to discuss it. I think that it behooves us as community members that we have to talk about some of the unfortunate ongoings that are happening in gaming media. And this is a perfect example of it. Even when Microsoft gets it right, they can't get it right. It's frustrating to see, to be honest with you, because like I said, all Microsoft did and all Tango Gameworks did was shadow drop what is probably going to be in many people's game of the year conversation at the end of this year, and we're only in January. Think about that for a second. This didn't get leaked. Yeah, there were some thoughts and there were some opinions that it might be there, but no one really knew what this game was. Now, granted, gives credit where credit is due. Jeff Grubb talked about this actually being there months ago. Is what he heard. So we had an idea that it could be there. Then we heard that it wasn't going to be there. And then we heard that it was going to be there. So it was a back and forth situation. But now we have it, folks. Now it's in front of us. Now everyone is playing it. Now, some people are like, "Oh yeah, it's a one and done. Oh, it's game is over quick." I'm at 15 hours and I'm only halfway through, and that's because that's how I play these games. I check every nook and cranny, and by the time I finish this game, I'll have 30 hours. I'll have probably 3 times the amount of the average gamer because I don't want to finish a game just to say, "Hey guys, look, I finished the game." I could care less about status quo. I'm enjoying the game and I want to find all the secret rooms and all the secret paths and try to level up my character and find everything I can. That's how I play God of War. That's how I play any of the single player type of games. Look, at the end of the day, I don't put reviewers or reviews ahead of me buying or playing a game. I just don't do that because, well, I've been gaming since 78. Your opinion is your opinion, and if you think a game sucks, that's good for you. I might find the game to be a game of the quality. But Crazy Lui Gaming, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Another shot in the ribs to Microsoft via Metro UK, which is a rag magazine. I mean, the truth of the matter is that they, on a Tuesday they love PlayStation. On a Thursday, for clicks, they're hating PlayStation. It's just what they do. But even when you read a glowing review like we read live on the air, they gotta find a way to muddle it up with some Xbox hate. I don't understand why the media continues to do this. Please, let's get your opinion on it.
I'm gonna take a little bit of fuzzy salt for a bit. I'm gonna be a little bit salty though on all these reviews and all these articles and all this stuff. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. What happened to what a review of a game was? I mean, literally, people need to go back to that and they need to review the games how it's supposed to be reviewed. The fun factor, the sound, the quality, all that stuff needs to go back to it. And stop reviewing the games because it's on this box or that box or any type of box. It doesn't matter. It's a video game. I mean, all these developers have put hard work into this game and they do deserve credit. They do not deserve to be like put down, get a bad score because why? It's on Xbox? No. Why don't you guys give them the score what they deserve? They actually made a great game. I mean, look at IGN Japan. They give them a 10. A lot of people give it a 9, 8. I mean, everybody's happy with it. And all they have done is have said positive things about it. Instead, you go out here, you review this game, right? You say, hey, this is great, but Xbox was a wasteland. What does Xbox have to do? Even though it's an Xbox game, yeah, but what does it have to do with it? Okay, we understand Xbox for the last generation, not this one, because this generation, they started off really good, right? 2022 was clean. We did not get a bunch of stuff. We actually got 2 games. And right now, 2023, we're starting this year, we're going to get a couple games, right? But even though that generation, they did not do good, right? This generation, they're actually trying to make up for it. So why call it a wasteland? Why, always trying to throw garbage at it? I don't understand why they do this. Of course, because out there, frankly, it's the truth. There's a lot of more. There are more haters out there than people that think positive. Sad but true, because that's what I see every time you read an article. When you throw these companies down the hill or down into the garbage, it's because that's what people want to read. When you read that stuff, you're like, why are these guys saying this? And again, like I was saying, review the games just for being the game. Do not review it with hate, or blame the company or this and that. Just review the game for what it is. These guys did an awesome job and they do deserve good credit.
I agree. And again, this is not a topic, but this is just another click grabbing attempt by Game Rant of all places, which I used to hold to a high quality, and now they're like the Inquirer. They're starting to become like the Inquirer in like your Walmart. Like you go to pay for your stuff and the Inquirer is there, right? And if you think that it just stops at Hi-Fi Rush, right? You're wrong. And I bring up this particular thing because we're going to get into the crying Jim Ryan. I look, folks, here's the thing. I give Sony all the credit in the world because they deserve it, right? Now, some people will argue against that and say, boom, you shouldn't give them any credit. But I'm fair. You cannot argue that even though they have done some egregious things for the industry, $70 games, charging $50 more for their console in something that's never been done in gaming, right? People are still buying the game, the console for near 600 when they were buying it for, five and change. Charging developers and publishers, an a-hole tax, as it's known, for cross-play, charging $3 more for their streaming service that does not have day-and-day games. They have done some egregious things. Take nothing away from Sony. They're scumbags. That's the bottom line. I said it. That's right. I really enjoy PlayStation, but I despise Sony. And that comes the way of Mag, middle-aged game guy, who says it all the time, and I have to second his notion. I love PlayStation for their games. That's why I have one. I love The Last of Us. I love God of War. I love Aloy. I think she's one of the best new characters in years. I love what they have done. So I do give them the flowers they deserve when it comes to high quality movie-esque type of experiences. You don't, maybe it's not for you, and I hear you if that's the case, but they're for me. I'm a selfish gamer. I like single player. I like putting on my 3D audio headphones, getting involved in a game, and just going off and enjoying it. That's just how I like to play games, right? Okay. But reeling it back in, as Mrs. Boom says, sometimes I could be a little bit long-winded, and she's not wrong for saying so. Game Rant writes this: should Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard go through, it could give the company and Xbox too much power over the video game industry. And I say to myself, you see, this is why Jim Ryan has a voice, and it's bullshit. Pardon my one curse French. I am sorry to say, folks, I am so utterly sick and tired of this whole situation. I cannot wait for this deal to get done, simply because PlayStation and Jim Ryan, their developers and their gamers, have this I'm better than you ideology, that we can do whatever we want because we're the market leaders, and because Microsoft is trying to compete with them, they're not allowed to buy things. And again, we're going to get into the Jim Ryan flying back to Brussels to peddle his bullshit, which has been proven wrong time and time again. And like I said, I'm tired of this ideology that the industry has when it comes to Sony. They have gone out of their way to keep everyone under their boots. They have been the market leader, and it's not a mistake, folks. Again, like I said, I will give them flowers where it's necessary. They have come out with some incredible experiences, dating all the way back to the PlayStation 1, but specifically where I think they really started to strut their stuff was on the PlayStation 4. I mean, the PlayStation 3 had great games, unbelievable experiences. But if you look at what they did, really revving the engine in like 2017, 2018, 2019, even 2020, and then you look what they did last year. Maybe not every game was critically, commercially a success, but critically, they did some good things, right? So you cannot argue that they make good games, but it's the in between the line stuff that makes me sick. So obviously, we have in front of us some quotes, and I'm going to give you who said the quotes. Okay. Now, we learned that Jim Ryan last Wednesday flew out to Brussels to once again argue to the CMA and to the EU regulators that this deal is bad for gaming, ultimately suggesting that it's bad for PlayStation, who's been the market leader for 2+ decades. Over 21 years, they have been the market leader. End of story. The numbers are there. Just go look it up. Well, I pulled a tweet from Frank X. Shaw, and he is currently the lead communications person for Microsoft. And he put out a couple of tweets that I have to bring up, and I think that they are incredibly relevant because it does paint Jim Ryan and SIE proper as a bunch of crybabies, a bunch of rebel rousers, and more importantly, a bunch of liars. And he says this, folks, and I'm going to read you all 4 tweets, and I'm going to get into it. I hear Sony is briefing people in Brussels, claiming that Microsoft is unwilling to offer them parity for Call of Duty if we acquire Activision. Nothing could be further from the truth. Here's number 2. We've been clear. We've offered Sony a 10-year deal to give them parity on timing, content, features, quality, playability, and any other aspect of the game. We've also said we're happy to make this enforceable through a contract, regulatory agreements, and other means. He goes on to say, and here's tweet number 3, Sony is the console market leader, and it would defy business logic for us to exclude PlayStation gamers from Call of Duty ecosystem. And finally, he goes on to say, our goal is to bring Call of Duty and other games, as we did with Minecraft, to more people around the world so they can play them where and how they want. Now, each one of these things, you want to talk about stats? Well, the first tweet saw 1.8 million views. Okay. The second one had 136,000 views. The third one, 531,000 views. And the last one, almost 170,000 views. That means that a lot of people are looking at this deal. And again, Sony has invested for their business and their companies. They have, if you look at the past 18 to 24 months, they've purchased and added studios and developers and IP to their repertoire to better PlayStation. It's a fact, folks. Absolute fact, right? Microsoft has done some things since 2018 because remember, at some point, they only had 5 studios. That's not good, right? Microsoft is trying to do something that has never been done in gaming. It's the biggest deal in the history of gaming as we know it. But you know what? They have the money and they have the means, and Xbox Game Pass, they have to have content too. Again, folks, I'm just really, honestly sick of the nonsense that is Sony, and specifically, and pardon, I don't know why my footage is running in slow motion. I will put some new footage on it. It recorded just fine, so we'll fix that in a second. But I'm going to go first to Fuzzy Belvedere, Mr. Saltmaster himself. Please, let's talk about this, dude, because this is, again, all of the evidence, Fuzzy, for what Microsoft is going to do post ABK is out there. They're willing to sign contracts. They're willing to make concessions to get this deal done. Mm-hmm. How is it so anyone is listening to Sony, who is the market leader and has been the market leader, has put their boot on the throat of the rest of the gaming industry, where they have forced entities like websites and publishers and developers to move when they say move?
It's funny to me. Like, I think it was the Game Rant article where they were saying, too much power. And they said too much power enough times where if that was a drinking game, I would have fell off the stool by now. But it's just, it's funny to me that they're, and it's almost like the shaky head guy, Adam, whatever, that was talking about, they'll make games worse and charge more money. It's like, let me back up. If I'm a PlayStation loyalist, why wouldn't, and I hate Xbox and I want them to fail, why wouldn't I want them to raise prices of games and make them worse? Because then they would probably disappear real quick, because who's going to buy a more expensive game that's crap? But that's logic. That would be illogical, for Microsoft to do something like that. But yet they keep on posting that same stuff as far as all these articles. Oh, they're going to, they're taking away Activision Blizzard and there'll be less studios for people to work at. And okay, every studio that I've ever seen get acquired, every last one, there's somebody that leaves and starts a new studio. And in most cases, there's 2 or 3 people that leave and start 2 or 3 studios. I can't remember the last time somebody hasn't left Bungie and started a new studio, or left EA in any one of their studios and started their own studio. The same thing with people with Microsoft. Undead Labs, 2 people left, 2 new studios started. What was it? With Bethesda, I think there was 3 people that left, at least 2 studios started. Go back and look at all the studios that start almost every freaking day. Now, sure, you go from AAA to AA, or however you want to look at it. Ooh, it's a new indie studio. Give it enough time, there'll be a bigger studio after maybe their first release or several releases. I mean, look at the guy that left from EA to go to do the Callisto Protocol. It's amazing to me that people forget that studios pop up almost every day. Some succeed, some don't, unfortunately, but there's always more studios. So Microsoft can have Activision Blizzard, and there'll be people that probably leave one of the studios at Activision Blizzard. There's already a guy that left Blizzard now. Give it a year, he'll probably start his own studio or be at a different studio that's a startup, because him and a few friends will probably figure out a way to get the funding to start something, or just go independent and make an indie game that, people love to play, or something along those lines. But it's always funny that it's like, oh, they're going to have too much power, they're going to go ahead and raise prices. Yes, unfortunately, they raise prices from 60 to 70. Thank you, Sony, Activision, and Take-Two, because those are the knuckleheads that helped push that agenda to get, or to make games more expensive. Sure, there's the extra costs and the micro and macroeconomics. Oh God. But it's just one of those things where pricing, yes, it can go up, but it doesn't always have to go up, because if you apply that logic to certain industries or certain electronics, for example, flat screen TVs keep getting cheaper. Cell phones, except for, like, I guess your Halo or your flagship phones, keep getting cheaper. And even some of those are getting cheaper because I think Apple's realized you can only sell the same phone with a couple of megapixel more camera a few times before people are like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out. But
I just paid off my phone. I have the S21 Plus, right? Like, the phone is monster sized. It does everything I need to do. And I literally just paid off our phones. My phone bill now is incredibly affordable. What the hell do I need to buy the S22 plus negative? I can go the S23 that's out now. Well,
don't you want 3 more megapixels on your camera?
I don't. I actually don't. I have 3 things on my 3 camera lenses. I don't need a 4th. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the thing. It's like they're so concerned with Microsoft having too much power that somehow it's going to kill off their favorite or preferred platform, Sony. Because I guarantee you, if they were a PC only gamer, or primarily a PC gamer, could care less about the console market, why would you care about Sony anyway? If anything, you'd be like, good, let them go. So then maybe they become a publisher. So if we finally get the stuff on PC, but no, every last one of these knuckleheads are console gamers that I guess were raised on PS1 through PS5. And you can clearly see it in the editorial pieces that they make. Like, I'm a person that started with I didn't start with PlayStation, but I went with PlayStation 1, skipped PlayStation 2 for PC, came back even while being on PC to have PS3, PS4, and PS5, but picked up Xbox at the Xbox One generation. Didn't want to bother with Xbox prior to that. But even I can see Activision being acquired by Xbox is not the end of Sony. It's not the end of gaming. And if they should ever get full of themselves, because we see this every generation, a bit of a flip-flop to some extent. If they ever got full of themselves after acquiring Activision, and they start doing stupid stuff like charging more for the games and making them lesser quality, guess where they'll be the next generation? At the bottom. Like, it happens every time. Somebody gets a big head, and then they go into the next generation, think they're going to kick all the doors down, and all the doors slam in their face. So these articles are funny to me, but it's tiring. Like, come up with something new. Like, it was funny when there were articles about the whole power savings thing. Like, people don't buy power saving or energy saving appliances for the past 20 years. Like, really? You're gonna, oh, that's now a problem. But Xbox acquiring Activision, that's nothing. It's, if anything, if the bad culture that was going on at Activision was a problem for you before, and you hate Microsoft, you should be cheering like, yeah, go ahead and acquire them so both of y'all can cancel each other out, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
no, everybody's like, no, my Call of Duties. Oh no, my PlayStation might disappear. They'll become a publisher, and but like I said, I'm probably rambling too much. But
No. Listen,
that's my take on the whole deal.
I love the salt. I think it's necessary for the conversation and for context that we are currently having. Again, I know I'm not the only one. But first of all, we got almost 500 people here. I do want to catch up on super chats before I bring in Web Dave. But look, the bottom line is this: the quote from Phil Spencer a couple of I would say a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's a couple of months ago, where when he was being interviewed, and he just had an interview with IGN, which I thought was phenomenal. 25 minutes. If you missed it, a lot of big pieces of things that we're not covering today, but we are going to cover tomorrow. Specifically, when he said a couple of months ago, where Sony succeeds by making Microsoft or Xbox smaller. He's not lying, folks. That is a fact. Now, granted, I am not taking any of the responsibility away from Microsoft. Let's call a spade a spade, okay? Microsoft, I said this in the opening, has painted themselves in a corner, and they have not been hitting the way that they should when it comes to release schedules and first party. So people have lost confidence with the brand. Now, that's not everybody, but you have to give them the smoke where it's due. And that is one of their shortcomings. Marketing and messaging has not been the greatest over the course of the last years. I will put my hand up and say that, but you can start to see a seismic shift in the marketing and messaging. And a perfect example of what we are hoping is the new face of Xbox is what they put on last Wednesday. It was phenomenal from top to bottom. 43 minutes of awesomeness. If they can continue that, we're going to start to see minds and hearts change. But the Jim Ryan situation is sickening because he continuously goes out there to paint them as the victim. They're walking into court limping, right? Like Renfield. And we know that the minute they walk out, they're rocking the Pimp Daddy cane, right? And no one can touch them. No one can even have a conversation with them. I'm tired of it, folks. I know you have to be tired of it. Again, even when this deal is done, if Microsoft were, quote unquote, were to get into first place, it's going to take years to get there. No one said anything negative about them acquiring Bungie for $3.1 billion, right? That went through regulators as the market leader, as if you and I changed our socks. I don't understand how this double standard continues. And in fact, there is a double standard. And again, I cannot wait for this deal just to be done and all of the evidence that is out there. And again, it's one of the things that just goes to show you that there is agendas. We learned about this last week. The head of the FTC, Lena Khan, rushed into action the lawsuit to block this deal after getting off the phone with the CMA and the EU regulators who had explained to her that she was going to they were going to sit down with Microsoft once they put out there what their concerns were to get the deal done. That's common knowledge. Go look it up. I can't do all the work for you. I got enough on my plate. This came out last week. It's a fact. She rushed. That's why the lawsuit has so many holes, because literally this whole thing with the FTC is politically motivated. Why? I don't know. I mean, you have to ask her that, but that's a fact. This goes to show you how this industry has, even like in some of the things that's going on, they move where Sony moves. And I think that's a problem. Let me get to the super chats and we'll get Dave in on the conversation. There's been quite a few of them. So the first one of the day comes the way of Brett Bingham, generous friend of the program. He drops a very generous $5 super chat. Says Metro UK didn't give Hi-Fi Rush a better score because it was on Xbox. Stop the console war slander. I mean, there you go. I think if this would have been a Sony exclusive, it'd have been game of the generation, game of the decade. Sony does it again. Where's my flowers? That's how it would have went. It's just disgusting. El Greco 17 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says Marchfield. I still think it's coming in March. I'm going to die on that hill. Brett Bingham drops an additional $2 super chat and says, what about a Max Payne reboot? Oh God, I would absolutely love the original Max Payne reboot, redone in current graphics and engines. Oh, that would be so dope. Adidas 20 drops a very generous $5 super chat, but it's what he says that warms the heart, folks. He says your channel is very important, and I appreciate the very nice compliment. Most of the journalists are Sony fans, and they will continue to control the narrative and not give Xbox credit. And I agree 1,000%. We also have Highlander 001, another generous friend of the program, drops a very outrageous $5 super chat. Says afternoon booming panel. I believe the hate in Xbox goes back to when Donald Allen Matrix, was the head of the Xbox and what he did. Tell me I'm wrong. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Good old Donnie D. Yes. He did not leave his mark as if you were hoping, and he left more of an underwear stain, unfortunately. But listen, Dave, let's get your hot take opinion on this. Talk about it, brother. I mean, you have been very salty, very publicly oriented when it comes to this deal. You're our money man on the panel. Is what some sites and Jim Ryan suggesting that if this deal goes through, it's the end of everyone?
Yes, boom, the world is over as we know it, and God help us all. And Atari starts making systems again, and that's where it all ends. No. Sorry, lost it there for a second. But it's crazy that people think this way, but it is. That's what we're up against. The bottom line is that Sony is scared. Sony is scared. People like, they're a market leader. Why do they have to be scared? Because they know that Game Pass is working, and Game Pass is their Achilles heel. It is something that they don't want to dive into. They don't want to put the effort into it. They don't want to put the money into it because they're making good money now. If everything stays like it is, the status quo, they continue to stay the market leader. Rocking the boat, which is what Microsoft is doing by this deal, even though they're conceded to do this, and this, it doesn't matter. It's not what they want. They don't want the concessions because they don't want the deal. Period. So they're gonna up until it's too late, or it's not necessarily too late, but until there's absolutely no hope. And as far as the deal is quote unquote done, they will continue to die on the hill that this is wrong for the industry. It's bad for everybody. Oh, woe is me. Microsoft is going to destroy everything. All gamers are going to suffer because of Microsoft. Simply not true. It's just it's sad that some people can't see it, or they're feeling the fuel for the fire, as it were, by trying to continue the narrative that this is going down. When it comes down to it, though, the deal's going to get done. Sony can't stop it. It's probably closer now than we know. I'll have to look on that boom and find what he said. It's just it's a sad state of affairs, but he's desperate. It's his last ditch effort. He's going to do everything he can to try and make it stop. But what should the people that are, I guess, fans of Xbox or fans of gaming should be confident about is Phil's confidence in the last interview he did when he did that interview with the IGN, that he is confident that this deal is close to being done, and he feels more confident now in the deal than he did the day they started. So if that's the case, then we should all take a deep breath and be like, it's happening. These things do take time, unfortunately, but everything is falling into place. Even though they're trying to, stop it, and they've been trying to, extend it. Microsoft has a court order out there where they want to see the documents for the release.
They want to see
what
Sony's doing in regards to their exclusive contracts.
They have bumped it now again to February 1st. So February 1st, I believe, is the final push. I don't think they can push that off anymore. Now,
no, I think they've postponed it twice. I don't think there's a third postponement.
Right, and so the first is the, so that'd be like Wednesday, I think, is what, when those that will be filing will be released. If we even see it at all, it'll be pretty heavily redacted, I'm sure, so that they will know what it says. The judge will know what it says, but we won't, see what it says. And as far as Sony's concerned, that's why they keep trying to block it and stop it, because they don't want anybody to see it. But if this case goes full to court with the FTC, Sony's going to have to give up the goods, because it'll be a court order requirement for them to do so. So all I can say, deal's going through. Fuzzy's a god. Love you, Fuzzy.
Look, I at the end of the day, like I said, I am looking forward to this deal going through for a lot of reasons. More so as a consumer, right? There's a chance if this deal goes before June, which a lot of people think that it might, we get Diablo 4 into Xbox Game Pass day and date. So that saves me $70. Call of Duty will not be in Game Pass for a couple of years because of the contract that expires, I think, next year. I think 2025 is the first year that that Sony wouldn't have the marketing rights, and it would be back to Xbox. So they had, obviously this year, which there's no mainstay in Call of Duty, it's just DLC. But the following year will be the standard November release of whatever the Call of Duty is going to be, whether that's a remake of Black Ops 2, whether that is a remake of Modern Warfare 3, or that's just a brand new Call of Duty altogether. We don't know at this point. But I will say that everyone has really had some really good opinions. The chat's been very feisty, going back and forth. And again, real good stuff as always. But I want to get Crazy Lui Gaming's opinion on this. Crazy Lui, look, you've heard what Dave had to say. Specifically, Fuzzy was, at the salty Fuzzy that we know and love. And Dave brought the money aspect into the conversation, which he normally does. Where do you fall about? I mean, again, we talked about this in the green room, folks. I have a suspicion. Again, this is just my opinion. I don't have good authority on this, so take it with a grain of salt. Phil Spencer comes out and he seems very confident that this deal is going to get done, right? He is running the deal. We know that he is going and flying all over the place, just like Jim Ryan speaking to regulators and saying, we are willing to sit down to the table. We are willing to do this, that, and the third. Give us your concerns, and we will address them. We know that is coming the way of the CMA and the EU. Their concerns for the industry at whole is going to be out there. Hopefully, even as close as this week. It makes you wonder, Crazy Lui Gaming, if that Jim Ryan, for him to fly out again to Brussels to once again give his opinion on how this is bad for the quote-unquote industry, suggests that this deal is going to get done, because he already flew out to here, there, and everywhere. Sony has already given their written documentation to all of the places that have approved the deal, but also all of the places like the FTC, who's suing to block the deal, and the CMA and the EU Commission, who have not given or rendered their verdict yet. So there might be some inside information that he has that is saying that the CMA and the EU Commission are willing to work out a deal to get what they want and also approve this deal. Does that make logical sense to you?
I'm gonna tell you something though. I mean, after I see him fly to Brussels, what it's telling me that this guy is scared. Sony is scared. I mean, these guys are scared to. I don't know. I don't even know how scared they are, because I'm gonna tell you something though. Xbox is doing what it can to get itself into the competition, and they're doing a really good job, and they're doing an excellent job, with all these games and all this stuff going on. And once they acquire Activision Blizz, they will get even more into the level of competing with these guys. Because I'm gonna tell you something though, Jim Ryan flying over there again. I sat here, analyzed everything you guys were saying. I was like, if I go down to, and sit down and do a little bit of math, I was like, wait, this year only, like for example, look at Xbox with Bethesda, right? How many games is Bethesda releasing this year? You got 3 from them. You got the Tango Gameworks. Isn't Tango from Bethesda, right? Tango's from Bethesda, right? Yeah.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So Tango's from Bethesda. That's 1. You got Starfield coming, which we don't know yet, and then we got Redfall. That's 3 games, right? So imagine when they do acquire Activision Blizz, and those games are going to actually deliver year after year. We're going to be getting a bunch of games year after year from Xbox. So here's the thing, though, and this is my point of view on this whole deal shenanigans, and I think that Jim Ryan needs to stop this. They really do need to stop this and go and attack over there. What he needs to do is go back, sit down, talk with Sony, grab Sony, restructure it, release games, and actually do get into this competition. They really need to focus on that and not on going over there, sitting with regulators, trying to stop this deal. I understand. Yes, it's the move you got to make as a company leader. Okay, I understand that all the way, but you already did it once. Why again? Not only that, you have been caught lying on this whole thing right now. And you're doing it, and you're doing this whole thing really wrong. Instead of you going back and say, hey, Xbox is actually putting up the gear. Let me go back to Sony. Sony, let's sit down. Let's talk this. Yo, let's get SOCOM back. Let's get this game back. Let's get all these games working, right? After you get all these games working and back on the gear has to be, you actually have a good way to compete against Microsoft and everything that's bringing up.
100%. Yeah.
And that's how it has to be. That's how it has to be.
Look, I will say this. I like what you're putting down. I like how everyone handled this. I like how the chat is going back and forth and giving some fantastic views. I think that there's a lot to be said about a market leader who, again, I'm not saying this for clicks, folks. You can make your own opinion. You don't need mine, but I'll give you my thoughts on it, and they're honest thoughts.
Jump in. Can I add something else? I got a question for the panel. It's a question I've been asking myself these past couple of days. After Hi-Fi Rush came out, do you guys think Xbox right now is actually getting closer to actually competing in good quality games against Sony?
You know what? I will answer that question. I love it. I think that, yes, this is a great start. They have had some games. Now, look, if you go back to last year, right? Last year wasn't a great year for Microsoft first party, right? They delayed everything that we're getting this year was delayed from last year, and that sucked, right? That was crummy. The year before, they won Publisher of the Year, right? Obviously, Halo Infinite. Again, what is going on with the studio should not indicatively be what you think of the game. Halo Infinite, I proudly gave it a 10 out of 10. I stand by that. I think Halo Infinite single player is magnificent. Multiplayer is exactly what I would possibly want in a multiplayer first-person shooter. I've given 343 their smoke, right? Like it needs content, and you got to deliver what you promise in continuing the story. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we cannot argue the fact that it was a good game, right? Now, for me, it's a great game. For others, it's just good. Okay, that's fine. That's arguable. Horizon 5 Masterclass Racer, right? 92 meta. Psychonauts 2, 86 meta. There was a ton of games that they have released in this generation that are all high 80 meta. So Microsoft, yes, to answer your question, they are slowly becoming comparable to Sony in regards to quality games. Now, people are going to argue with me and say, "Boom, you're out of your mind because of God of War and Horizon Forbidden West and The Last of Us remake, all masterclass achievements." Let's not get that twisted. Now, I don't hold Horizon in regards to where I wanted the sequel to be because of the bugs that I experienced, but the game is gorgeous. The story, if you listen to my brother, he hated the story. He thinks that where they left off just ruined the whole franchise, and he's not the only one to say that. So, with that said, it's really going to be about personal choice, and that's fine. But I'll let everyone else give their opinion on it. And I'll start with Dave to answer Crazy Lui Gaming's question: is Microsoft moving in a direction where you feel confident they'll be able to deliver quality games the way Sony does?
Well on their way, and there's no doubt that it's I just wait this year. By the end of this year, this conversation is going to change, and you'll be like going, where was Sony at? You just wait. You just wait.
Yeah, I like it. I do like what you're putting down. Honestly, I think there's a lot of substance to that. Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. That was a great question by Crazy Lui. Well, what's your answer?
I'm gonna have my hard answer, and then what the outside is going to look at it as. I already believe they're competing because me being a racing fan,
right?
I consider Microsoft or their studios to be the better grouping. Sony got rid of their arcade racer group after Drive Club, and Polyphony is very slow to release content. So on my end, they're already competing in games like Hi-Fi Rush are definitely helping the overall picture, filling out some of the areas that even Sony's not even focused on at this point in time. But for those that are going to want the one and done or the story driven narrative with third person's perspective, I give it by kind of like what Dave was saying. By the end of this year, I think they will have some bangers, as they say, that will be able to stand toe to toe on whether it's an award stage or just common criticisms and conversations about gaming in general. We're probably looking at Hellblade 2 the end of this year. Starfield is not too far away. Once again, the biggest draw for me, Motorsport is pretty much going to be before the end of this year. And then you got Redfall, which I think with the fact that it's going to be single player and co-op, I think there's that hybrid that Xbox is actually the better platform on. Like if you're more about doing co-op or multiplayer, it's already a better competing brand. But when it comes to the single player, I think they'll have that covered or get close to covered before this year is out.
Ghostwire Tokyo too.
Yeah.
So that's another one. Ghostwire Tokyo. Again, it didn't move the numbers for a lot of people on PlayStation 5. I don't know. I didn't play it. I know it got averagely reviewed. And again, folks, I'm just saying that from experience, from documented experience, one of the things that Sony has done right for years is, and again, this is not taking away from the quality of their first party. I'm just trying to make a point here. When Sony releases one of their AAA bombs, or 2 or 3 in a particular year, it is surrounded by smaller games. And what that does for both the big game and the smaller game is it elevates interest, it elevates score, right? We've seen it time and time again. I think that what you'll see specifically with Hi-Fi Rush being what is considered a marketplace darling, right? Anyone is talking about this game, which is great. I think when Ghostwire Tokyo comes out, people are going to have selected interest in the game because of what they experienced with Hi-Fi Rushing. Like, whoa, because I've seen a lot of comments. I've gotten a lot of DMs. Hey, Boom, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even know who Tango Gameworks were until Hi-Fi Rush. And I mean, they said it jokingly on the direct, right? That we're only known as the horror guys because they make Evil Within. Now, I didn't dig Evil Within 1. I loved Evil Within 2, and I hope that they continue and we get a sequel, which they're probably working on it because they are working on another AAA game. That's probably what they're doing. So we will certainly see. Great question. Let me catch up on some of the super chats, and we have a comment in here from a good friend of the program, Sin. Now, he dropped this a little while ago, and he said, Double Barrel Gaming, I cannot reveal my source, so take this as you will. Word is that Xbox will have another developer direct before June in addition to Starfield. And I can second that because I've also just heard, and this was the other day, and I didn't want to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up now, that yes, Microsoft is in fact potentially, according to his source and my source, which could be the same person for all we know, will in fact have an additional developer direct before E3. Now, is this what I suggested about it should be a third-party Game Pass marketed event? I don't know, but it's possible. And could it be first party? I don't know. Are they going to do another shadow drop like Hi-Fi Rush? If it's first party, then no. If it's third party or second party or even indie focused, then I believe yes, because there are a lot of things that are going on with Xbox that we don't know about, like marketed deals. And I'm not talking about AAA bombs. I'm talking about more showing like the second and second party indie scene, which they have released great ones. It would be pretty dope if they did do, and I said this before, if they marketed at least one or two of their developer directs to focus on second party, focus on indies, to get them their, to give them their flowers, so to speak, and then potentially do a shadow drop. Hey, guess what? We're happy to say that we teamed up with Xbox to drop title X, Y, and Z. And guess what? It's in Game Pass right now. I think they need to do more of that. That is the evolved version of we have one more thing for you, right? You've heard me talk about that. I'd love to see that come back. And they did it in such class, such precision with Hi-Fi Rush. You can only say, yes, please, I want more. We have Elemental Pio, good friend, generous friend of the program. He's been a channel member for 6 months. And he says, if Hi-Fi Rush gets a limited edition physical release, I think you should do a giveaway for it. I got one better for you, folks. And I'm going to pledge this right now. I don't know if there's a physical version of this, but I will pledge it. And you can quote me and tweet on Twitter to let everyone know that I said this. We'll do one better than buy one copy. Mrs. Boomstick and I, if there's a physical version of Hi-Fi Rush, we'll buy and give away 5 copies, not one copy, 5 copies of the game to people that are in the chat, and we'll do that live on the air. So if there is a physical version, whenever that may happen, we will give away 5 copies the day it's announced on one of the shows. I can't say specifically what show, but it will be on one of the Xbox shows for sure. 5 copies we will give away. And if it and I'll take it even a step further, folks. In the next couple of weeks, if we don't hear about this game, coming to physical form, Mrs. Boomstick and I will give away 5 copies of the deluxe edition for simply just, well, why the F not? 5 copies in the next couple of weeks, which will equate to about $200 because we're going to buy you the deluxe edition, and we will give 5 copies away of Hi-Fi Rush in the next couple of weeks. We'll wait for the see if there's going to be a physical, which I hope there is, because guess what? If there's a physical, a collector's edition, even if it's only 40 or 50 bucks, I'm going to buy it for my collection. Just like I did Ori and plenty of other of the smaller titles. Mrs. BoomStick and I will give away 5 copies of that. So stay tuned for more information, and shout out to LMNOPO for the suggestion. Love it, brother, and love you as well. Habe Lincoln drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, Boom, please announce this as a $20 Tomahawk missile. All supers need to be bomb themed. That's a great idea. $100 I think it's Moab, MOAB. That's pretty dope. Thank you so much for that. We also have Tom from Tanami drops a very generous. No, he actually is a channel member for 3 months. He says, gonna be awkward when Sony has to sit in front of these regulators when they buy another studio after just lying to them. That's again, scorched earth is not the way to go, and that's what Sony is doing. And I think that once they have to do it themselves, they might be in a bit of a pickle. Hey Blinken drops an additional $2 super chat and says, Jim Ryan caught in a checkboard 4K. Yeah, I think that all of his Jim Ryan shenanigans is going to come back to bite him, especially when you're being subpoenaed by Microsoft and you need to actually produce documents, specifically when they have anti-Xbox wording in them. Like, you can't put it on Xbox service. Again, we've learned that they've actually paid developers bonuses not to release on Xbox. Like, again, that's if I could find that, I think it's to be very easy for Microsoft to produce that kind of information and show regulators that Sony is just a bunch of scumbags. I'm sorry, that's what they are. But look, 90 minutes of pure awesomeness, 90 minutes of 3 amazing topics with an incredible amount of people. We crossed over 500 people here today. I can't thank you enough for the support. Absolutely astounding panel that I put together, this particular one each and every week. Let's get to the outros, and we're going to start first with Web Dave, who sat down with Skulls ETV, who will be making his appearance tomorrow on the Xbox Factor podcast. Fantastic stuff, as always, Dave. Sell your brand. Where could people check out that interview? Subscribe to your YouTube channel, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Thanks, Boom. Yeah, please check us out at the @ Outbreak Gamers on YouTube. Our link is also in the description of this show, courtesy of Boom. Thank you, sir, for doing that. Go over there, hit subscribe. We got another show coming up here before long too. We're going to add to more content on my channel. But that interview is up now and live with Skulls TV. It's a really good one. He's very fascinating, and he has a lot of insight on Bethesda because his boss used to work for him. So really interesting and some really neat stuff. And definitely want to check it out and stay subscribed because we've got more interviews coming. I got 2 more in the can. I got 2 more filming this week. So going to continue to grow with more great interviews from great content providers from all over and all different kinds, not just people who have channels, but people that work on games, people that are in the industry, people that work for corporations that are large. Just saying. But anyway, those are definitely ones you want to stick around for. And Boom, thanks again for the opportunity to be here. I love being here with Crazy Lou and of course the fuzzy one, the Fuzzmaster Jam, Fuzzy Belvedere.
Love he should be known as Fuzzy Salt Bearer. Belvedere. I love it. I love it when he gets salty. And speaking of Fuzzy Belvedere, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for all and anything when it comes to the racing genre. What other shows you are a part of, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, just thank you for having me. Always love being here with you guys on Mondays, and yeah, it's just great time to be a gamer and just have so much fun with everything that's coming out. And I kind of heard that same rumor. We'll talk more after in the green room, but
yes, we will.
Man, oh man! For all of those that want to hear my rambles or anything, salt or gaming related, especially racing related, just follow me on social media, Fuzzy_Belvedere on Twitter and YouTube. You can also find me on FSP on Fun Speculations channel, 10 p.m. Later on tonight. You can also find me on Breakfast with Boom on this channel at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. And then Xbox Ultimate later that evening, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fun Speculations channel. And then the Shop Podcast on Saturday on PTK Blam's channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right back here on the Xbox Lunch Break special with the family. So look forward to seeing you guys next Monday.
Buzzy,
Yeah,
are you on 5 shows? Is that 5 or 6?
Five, yeah.
Awesome.
He does as much as I do. That's crazy. Good on you for supporting as many people as you do. And we are very, very happy to have you a part of not only this show weekly, but of course, Breakfast with Boom, Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love the passion and knowledge that you bring, not only in just racing. I'm talking about just in general, industry conversation. You always bring it, and we definitely appreciate that. So thank you for being here. And last and no way least, Crazy Lui Gaming, one of the great voices of the Xbox International podcast, which Sour Blow and several of your members are here today. Big shout out to them as well. Talk about the Xbox International podcast, where they can subscribe to that, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Mr. BoomStick, thank you for having me on this week. It's always awesome hanging out with you guys. First things first, you guys can find me at Twitter at Crazy Lui Gaming, where I say good morning and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Also, you can find me here, the Xbox Lunch Break Special, hanging out with you guys here at 12 p.m. noonish. And last but not least, you can find me at the Xbox International Podcast at 7 p.m. ET Wednesdays with Silent Cypher, Sour Blow, and the Mr. Big Boom every single week.
Definitely appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button on the way out. If you're new to the channel, finding us for the first time, please consider subscribing. Mrs. Boom and I are a few hundred subs away from 12K, and we would love to be able to put out there that we have hit 12K. Our goal for this year, and it's a hefty one, we'd love to hit 15K by end of 2023. I don't know if we can get 3,000 plus subs, but we're certainly going to give it the old college effort. And again, we do giveaways as our way of paying it forward to the community. But we don't want subs for that. We want subs that you come out and you check out the 5 live streams per week, and you're like, yeah, I really like what they're putting down here. And that's why I want to subscribe. And hopefully you enjoyed today's show too. Not only hit the like button, but subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it. A big shout out to all of the super chats that come in. Obviously, those do fund the big giveaways, 2 of which that were announced today. If there's a physical version of Hi-Fi Rush, thanks to LMNOPO, Mrs. Boom said, and we will give away 5 copies. And even if there isn't a physical version announced, we will still give away 5 deluxe edition digital codes. We'll make more as we get further into February. We'll announce that. Maybe we'll do a special Valentine's Day giveaway that includes those 5 copies. And of course, I want to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.